we're not in the business of responding to the stock market. We are in the business of maximizing employment and stabilizing prices. And if those start to go wrong, then our job is to try to address that on the real side of the economy.
All right, so do you believe that? Austin Goolsbee saying the Federal Reserve really doesn't focus so much on the crazy markets, not going to be bullied by them. That's something you hear out a lot of central banks. I wonder if Steve Forbes buys that, one of the brightest minds I certainly know. So, Steve, what do you think of that? And I often hear this out of Fed officials, oh, we don't even have the markets on in our office. I don't buy that. What do you think?
No, well, the markets try to anticipate the future. And we've seen in recent decades, the Federal Reserve's a crystal ball. They've been behind the 8 ball on inflation and everything else. So they're slow to respond now. The economy is showing some serious headwinds looking out ahead. And they're still fiddling around with interest rates. They shouldn't even be fiddling with interest rates. But the interest rate, Neil, to really look at is not the one they keep reporting, what they call the federal funds rate. It's the interest rate that the Federal Reserve pays on bank reserves, which is still over 5%. So the markets are telling the Fed right now they want lower interest rates. The markets demand it. That's why you see the 10-year Treasury down over a point, 100 basis points. Same thing with the 2-year, 5-year. The markets already have low interest rates. And once again, the Fed is lagging, and that shows their crystal ball. They need a new one.
All right, well, the thinking last week at this time, before we got the employment report, was that, it was steady as she goes on inflation and all of that. And now we're not even thinking about inflation. We're worried about the economy collapsing. There's got to be a middle ground here. Where are we?
Well, the economy would take care of itself fine, but unfortunately you have a government now that is piling on regulations, a new one that might come in January that wants even more taxes, and you have a Federal Reserve that still believes that prosperity causes inflation. What causes higher prices is when you have disruptions to production like we had during the lockdowns, or undermining the value of the dollar, unstable value of the dollar. Right now around the world, currencies are all weak. It's just a matter of which one is weaker than the other. Japan, which has a currency that is in very bad shape, the yen, had a rally for a while, which led to the sell-off in the markets because of what they call the carry trade a few days ago. But the Japanese national debt, for example, proportionally is twice our own. And they still have a 10-year bond that yields less than 1%. So they're in a heck of a mess. So you look around the world, a lot of trouble out there, and the Fed is clueless to how to deal with it.
You know, Steve, I wonder if I could talk a little bit of politics here, because the money issue, the markets, if you argue that there is something to this old Trump trade, that they prefer him, all his volatilities notwithstanding. But one of the things that strikes me as interesting, I talked to Larry Hogan, the former Republican governor of Maryland, running for Senate, and he's not too big a fan of when Donald Trump goes on these various tangents, either talking about Kamala Harris's race or getting in fights with the very popular governor, George. I want you to react to this and how he says it's hurting the party, maybe hurting its chances. Take a look.
I just don't think it's useful at all to have a Republican nominee for president attacking a Republican governor over some perceived slight from years ago. It's none of this stuff is helpful if you're trying to win an election.
Do you think Donald Trump is blowing it if he keeps this up?
I've heard him say he's going to focus on the issues, and that's sort of what I've been suggesting for quite a while. And I think a lot of people in the party, although not everybody's speaking out, I think they would all like to see a campaign based on the issues that are important to Americans.
What do you think of that, Steve?
Well, I think after the Democratic convention, assuming that doesn't blow up like it did in Chicago in 1968, and Kamala Harris gets the expected bump, the president and the vice president, they're just starting to, are going to be sharply focused on the economy, on the real issues of what concern people. The fact they have no faith in the future. The prices are still way higher than they were 4 years ago. How do you get this economy moving again? So you're going to be talking about tax cuts. You're going to be talking about getting control of the border, getting control of spending.
And not about all this other nonsense. Not about all this other nonsense, right?
No. The issues that matter to people. And one of the slogans I wish they'd use is, if they're elected, Donald Trump and Vance, they'll let you keep your car. they'll let you keep an air conditioning that works, a dishwasher that works, and all these crazy regulations they keep piling on. So those kinds of issues will resonate with people. And that's how you're going to win the election, focusing on issues. That's what people want to know. What are you going to do next year to make this country better and our financial situation better around the kitchen table?
You ought to stick to following this stuff. You seem pretty good at it, Steve. So always good seeing you. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Steve
Thank
Forbes,
you, Neil.